Mamabolo MEC for Infrastructure Development. I've been asked by the provincial government, led by our Premier David Makura, to make few announcements on the matter because our members of the Executive Council, our EXCO, or what we call the Provincial Cabinet, they are currently in a meeting in Soshanguve in the city of Tshwane. So I was released to come and make an assessment here and communicate any information publicly. So thank you very much, Tabo. I'll make few points. I've been briefed by the officials of the provincial government and the city of Johannesburg about the incident that happened here, which caused a fire on the 23rd floor of the Department of Health in a building here which we call the Bank of Lisbon. That is the name of the building. Let me also just say that before I proceed, we have the chairperson of our portfolio committee of infrastructure development and the chairperson of the portfolio committee on education, who also sit in our portfolio committee, and they are members of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature that also came to site. I just want to acknowledge them, their presence. Now, as I was saying, that the fire happened on the 23rd floor of the building we call Bank of Lisbon, the Department of Health. Now, let me just also indicate that the building hosts 3 departments. So the Department of Health, as I've already said, the Department of Human Settlement, and the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, which we abbreviate as COGTA. So the 3 departments, Health, Human Settlement, and COGTA, are all housed or have that building as their office accommodation. Now, let me also indicate that the report that I've received, firstly, is that there is, we have got, and this is just being updated, that there are currently 3 members of the City of Joburg Fire Department, the firefighters, who have lost their lives, and we would like to convey our sincere condolences to the deceased, to their families, and to their loved ones, and of course to all the people of our province and the country. And let me also just indicate that as we are speaking here currently, as we are standing here, we are working with the emergency services to verify the numbers and to confirm. And once we have received a final report and the building has been completely cleared, we will make further updates on the number, if indeed is 3, but currently the number that we are working on is 3. And on behalf of the provincial government, we really would like to convey our sincere condolences to the families. We will work with the city of Johannesburg as the provincial government, and of course we will work with national government to make sure that firstly the message, the information that we have together with the city of Joburg is conveyed to the families, to the loved ones, and the further announcements on the matter will be made by the provincial government working with the city of Johannesburg, and of course we'll engage also national government on this tragedy that has befallen us caused by the incident of fire. So to that extent, we are really deeply affected and very much concerned about the tragic loss of life, and of course to the families of the deceased. We will, as I said, be following up and checking as the day goes, and of course once we have all the information we will keep you updated. Let me also just announce that we have been informed that there are 13 employees of health who have been taken to hospital. Mainly, I think most of them went to Mill Park Hospital, 13 of them. The report that we have currently from emergency services, which assessed and checked them, supported by the doctors from Charlotte Maxeke Hospital who checked them before they went to Mill Park, was that most of them were affected by smoke inhalation. They inhaled the smoke. That's what currently is being reported to be the problem, but obviously we will get further medical reports. But for now we have been told that it's basically the smoke that caused their referral to the hospital, and our officials from the Department of Health are working very hard to make sure that we support those officials who are currently admitted or referred to health facilities. Let me also just announce that from the Department of Health, Department of also conveyed to them that tomorrow and of course on Friday, until further notice, the officials that were all working in this building will be allowed to stay at home until we are ready to find an alternative, suitable and safe place where the officials can report for duty as and when we are ready to communicate that to them. For now, we have released all the officials and we will communicate with them about the next steps. So we have communicated to all our officials, and of course on behalf of the provincial government we must convey our sincere apologies to all our officials for the tragedy that has happened and the accident that has happened. Now let me also just also announce that we are aware as the provincial government that the Bank of Lisbon, which is a government-owned building, and let me just clarify that the officials of the provincial government, some are in government-owned buildings and some are in leased buildings. Now, we have conducted an assessment of all the 8 government-owned buildings, including the Bank of Lisbon. This assessment started last year in August, and we have received a report on the state of the building, the 8 buildings that have been assessed, and the report came to us just on the 27th of August this year, just last week.
Yeah.
We received a report that indicates the condition and state of all the provincial government, the 8 buildings which have people with them, which are being utilized currently, and the condition of each. The reason why we conducted an assessment of all the buildings is for 2 reasons. One is because we have received reports about the conditions of our buildings that we needed to then do a proper investigation into what is the condition of each one of the components that will make a building to either comply or not comply with occupation, safety and health related legislation and policies. And I can say to you that we have found, with a report that came in last week on the 27th, that report does indicate that indeed our concerns as the provincial government that the buildings were not complying with occupation safety and health standards are confirmed. That is true, and we believe this is a fact that we should communicate because we have received the report. We will be receiving a much more detailed report on the other buildings. But just on Bank of Lisbon, we have found that the building was not compliant with the basic regulations and the laws of this country on safety and health as the law requires. So that is what our report, which we have commissioned, indicate the building was not compliant. And it actually says the building was about 21% is what was the level of compliance. Ideally, the building should be above 85% in order for people to be in it. So clearly the report indicates very detailed condition assessment of this particular building. It indicates non-compliance. Now we will receive the report on the rest of the other buildings and check what is the level of compliance. If we find that the buildings are not compliant, the 8 of them, we will take measures and we will immediately make sure that we vacate or move people out of those buildings depending on the degree of non-compliance, the risk and the professional and legal advice that we'll receive. But we will make sure that we do not put people in buildings that our own report, which we received last week, indicate that they are not good or conducive for occupation health and safety of our officials. So I will advise EXCO based on the reports I've received, and we will take appropriate steps.